you leave your home country as a younger person, you have to at some point navigate like relationships, whether it's familial or you get into a romantic or intimate relationship, long distance. Like, it's kind of something that is going to be a part of your life. What makes you you, Professor Tola?
Absolutely. So yes, thank you so much, Winnie, for having me here. I'm really excited to share with your tribe and just anything that can be helpful in their own like development and relationship as well. But yes, as she said, I am Omotola the Great or Professor Tola, whichever one you prefer. I have a lot of nicknames, so each season I change them anyhow. But anyways, I am originally from Nigeria. That's where I was born and bred. It has been a journey, and like Winnie said, I have been in relationship that has been long distance as well. And that's what's going to be the big talk that we're going to talk about today, right? But I have two children, two wonderful children. Actually, it's unbelievable. My daughter is going to be 5 on Monday.
Wow.
So like I cannot believe it that she's 5 years old with all the sass and everything to come. And then I have a son who is, his name is David. He's going to be 3 in May. And so yes, like she said, I'm a professor. I'm also into the nonprofit sector. I work as a consultant through the funding magnet. And yes, I also have a nonprofit organization called the Just Start Dream Academy, where I am the founder and executive director. But I want to get to know you guys as well. So please put in the chat where you're joining us from and whether you're a student or you're a professional and where you are as well. We want to hear from you too.
Absolutely. Please talk back to us. Yes, we want to meet you. Wow. Thank you. I feel like even though I know you, like I'm still always blown away by how much you are able to do in the same 24 hours that God gave. We want to talk about long distance relationships, and actually even in general navigating relationships when you are outside your home country with little to no social support, and you know what that even looks like when you're trying to do all of that in addition to building a life away from home. All right, so my first question, which is kind of like an icebreaker to all of this, is how did you meet your husband?
Yeah, so that's actually a good so I met him at church, and I know it sounds cliche, but it is not.
Okay.
So the way it worked was that after my undergraduate degree here in the US, bachelor's and my master's, I decided, you know what, I wanted to come back to Nigeria to run the nonprofit I started. And so and then his brother was here in the US, and so he wanted me to take some things back home for his family. And so and then they attend the same church that I attended when I was in Nigeria as well. And so to cut the long story short, so that was our first initial conversation, was like, oh, he thanked me for, like, we saw at church, and I was like, I thank you, by the way, for bringing the stuff home from my brother. And he said, oh, so you're welcome. And then that was it the first time. And then the second time was like, do you know anybody in agriculture? and somebody, and so that was because I was passionate about agri. Actually, I have a farm. I have a 10-acre farm. So I said, absolutely, I know somebody. I am in agriculture and I know people too. And so that's how we started talking. But the back end of it is that I've actually known his family all my life because, like I said, we attended the same church growing up, but I never knew him. I was friends with his brothers, but I was never friends with him. But because of that exchange of sending things home, that was how we connected.
So how long have you both been together to date?
So it will be 6.5 years in April. So our wedding anniversary is actually coming up in April. So April 2nd, that will be 6 years in marriage. But like you said, you know, what you said about, oh, all of a sudden you saw the introduction. So we only dated for like 3 to 6 months. I don't think it was up to 6 months. As I said, it would be 3.5 years. And then even during the short dating period, we did long distance even before we married. And so like it was on July 4th, I remember, when it was like, I really, really like you. I don't just want to be friends with you. Will you marry me? And that was less than 2 months of dating. But because I knew what I wanted, and I already, like, it didn't take me long to know that this is the kind of person I wanted to spend my life with. And so it was very easy for me to say absolutely yes. And so it was July 4th of 2015 that we actually, like, officially said, oh, I would love to be in a relationship with you. Like, not just a girlfriend, but like, for real, like, let's plan our life together. And so it will be 6.5 years. Sorry.
Wow. Wow. We're going to have to catch up on this like off camera because I'm trying to understand how you decided to marry somebody in 2.5 months. And my brain, my brain is kind of in twitches and touches about that. So
No.
just to kind of shed a little bit more light, because I feel like further in our conversation today, we'll dive into how you not only trusted this relationship as something that was strong enough, but you trusted it to be able to even do an intercontinental long distance relationship with. So what are some of the attributes or things that you saw in him that, you know, kind of gave you the green sign or the green lights that okay, this was really worth giving a shot and investing. And I remember we talked about like when you told me that you were tired of dating, like you told me you were done. So how do you go
Yeah.
from that to like wanting to marry somebody in 2.5 months?
So the first part is, I'll say, is knowing yourself. So I got to a point where I began to understand myself and what I really wanted, not what the world wanted for me. So one of the things I realized that my previous relationship, I was dating people that were either my age mate or like 1 or 2 years older than me. But one of the things I look like, my maturity was way above those things, and I'm always thinking things. I'm always thinking of the future, planning for the future, and those ones were not ready to be at that level because and. So that was one thing. So when I understood and I finally took the time to understand who I was, my role that I wanted to play in the world, and my place that I wanted, not what the society said my place should be, what I wanted my place to be. And I knowing the kind of lifestyle, the kind of life I want, the kind of future I want for my family. And so think of it like a vision board, but it was not necessarily a vision, but it was a future board. But it was in my head. It was a future board of what I wanted, what I desired for in a relationship. And so that was what started that. And so one practical thing was I realized that I cannot date my age mates. It was not going to work because they'll say that I am stubborn, I don't listen. And so I realized that anybody my age mate or 2 or 3 years older than me, it's not going to work because based on the level of maturity and the life experience I've had, it just did not work in the ones I tried. And so one of the things that made me sure of Shane was like, he was 7 years older than me. And so that was something that I was like, okay, this person is mature. This person has more age than me. I can relate to their level for where they are. For some people, they might think that's too long or that's too far in terms of age gap. And for me, my goal was like 10 years. That was my max in terms of like age difference of where I was going to marry, because I realized anybody lesser than 3 years older than me, it was not going to work based on the past relationship I had. Not because they were not great or wonderful, but because of where I was and the future I wanted to have. It was not a good fit during that period. So that was the first thing, is understanding myself, knowing my role and the place I wanted to have in the future, whether as a mom, as a wife, as somebody in ministry, or in the profession as well. And so so that was one thing that was very important, was like understanding yourself. So before you jump into any relationship, whether it's a long distance or even same, like in the same city, in the same continent, understand yourself. Who are you? Because if you try to attach yourself to somebody without knowing your own identity, then you're going to get frustrated if things like, so you need to establish who you are, and then that helps. And then another thing also that also helped me was that I also cared. I had a list of what I wanted in a person. So I had like 3 to 5 characteristics. I was like, this was non-negotiable for me. So know your non-negotiables as well, to say, okay, these are my non-negotiables. These are the things I want. These are the things I hope to accomplish. And so that was something else that was really important to me. So the first one was like, the person has to be a believer. I was a Christian. I wanted the person, I am a Christian. The person also has to be a Christian, because I wanted to make sure that who we believe align together, because if there is lack of alignment in that, then it's going to create a faulty foundation. And so that was very important to me, that because, and then I'll be very open. The reason why that was important to me as a characteristic and a trait was, I grew up in a family where my dad was a Muslim for the first 15 years of my life. My mom was a Christian, and we had to go to both mosque and church, and it was like a battle, a tug of war. And then all my dad's family members were conk Muslim, and they had certain belief about what we can do or what we cannot do and things like that. So I saw a lot of like challenges and issues and things that occurred during my parents' marriage, because they were not on the same page from the very beginning of their marriage. And so for me, it was very important that we were on the same page and we understood each other and we knew what we were for and who we were for. And so that was very important to me. So that was one of the traits that I was looking for. And then the second thing was like, I was looking for someone that was going to be a life partner, because for me, I realized that based on no, it was not just because I studied here in the United States, but also like the way I grew up and the way my parents like portrayed marriage and relationship to me. I realized that I wanted somebody that can be a partner. I didn't want the traditional, definition of husband and wife and how husband is just supposed to like control your life and things like that. And so I had to define for myself that what does this look like? So I had a definition for what is a life partner and what does that entail and what does that look like? And so that was another trait. So those were just like 2 out of the 5 that I had. And it was those were like my top 2 that these have to like, it has to be a partnership. And I have to be able to have a say, not that, oh, whatever my husband says, that's the end. Because I know some people, they use the religion to like make that even not so great. So I had to define that, and I had to look for that in the person. That is this person mature enough to see me as a partner, irrespective of our age difference and things like that. And so that was also very key. But yeah.
Got it. Okay. So at what point in your relationship with your husband did it become clear to you that long distance was going to be a part of your relationship?
So it was at the very beginning. So like I said, he officially had to be in July that, I want to spend the rest of. He didn't like, it was not like, because before that July 4th, we're just friends. We're like just, like hanging out, going on, but there was nothing defined. But then I was hoping that he would say, be my girlfriend. I was like, no, I want to marry you, be my wife. I was like, okay, fine. And so at that point, so I knew that before I can say yes, I have to tell him that, I'm considering going for my PhD, because at that point I already had my master's degree, but I already knew that based on the situation then and the way Nigeria was going and the kind of things I wanted to do in the future, like I said, having a future vision of where I wanted to be. So I knew that already, that this is where I wanted to be. This was part of my own plan. Whether or not I was married or not, I was going to go for my PhD. And so I had to tell them that, this is my plan. I want to do my PhD. I don't want to do it in Nigeria. And he was training to be a trauma surgeon. He was in residency at UCH then. And so he was a medical doctor and training to be a trauma surgeon. And so I knew that it was going to be a lot if I were asking him to move all of his life and come with me. Yeah. Like that, he has already invested so much years with all the strike and everything. And so for me, so I said, that I'm willing to try living in Nigeria, but he was like, no, he just stopped me. I said, no. Like, you've already experienced 2 different, for your bachelor's and your master's, you've experienced excellent education. You now think that because of me, I will not let you suffer through the Nigerian system, that God forbid that is either we don't even date at all, and then I can go for my PhD. Then maybe if God says it will happen in the future, then if I now come back, then maybe that's when it will work. Or I can just continue with my plan, apply for my PhD wherever I wanted to go in the world, and that we're going to make it work out. So it was like, I either break up with you, don't accept my proposal, or let's figure out how to make it work. So right from the beginning, I laid my card out to say, I want to go for my PhD. This is what it will entail. And are you for this or not? And so being honest and just laying your card out from the beginning. Don't try to say, oh, maybe when they fall in love with me, finally, I'll now tell them this stuff. Start from a really great foundation. Put your card out there and say, this is it. And if it's not meant to be, then it will not work. But if it's meant to be too. So it was right from the beginning where I told him that, this is the plan. And it was like, if that's the plan, if you get accepted, I am not going to stop you. I know that you're brilliant. I know that you have so much to offer the world. And I will not be the reason why you cannot get the best education to go for that as well.
Wow. Okay. So my next question, I'm looking here because my computer is here. Could you give a timeline such so that as people are understanding how this plays out, they could know how you were taking your decisions? So you got engaged towards the end of, I think, 1 year, and then you got married early the next year, correct?
Yes. So officially he asked me July 4th. Then in August, we did our introduction with our family. And then in April, we got married. Or April of 2016, we got married. So 2015, July, he asked me. I said yes. Then in August, we did that introduction. And 3 days after, I left to come to the US because I have a godmother that lives here. And she was having some health challenges. And so, and this person has invested in my life, previously when I was in the US. So I said I had to leave. I didn't have to. She didn't. But I said I needed to leave to be part of her because her cancer came back. And so I told him that, this is, and I already knew the place and the role that this person was, even though she was not blood related. But for me, family is not about the blood, it's about who you choose to be on the journey with, right? And so it was like, absolutely, Tola, whatever you need to do. So I was in the US from August till January of 2026. So I left Nigeria 2 days after our introduction, came to the US, and then I was here from August 2015 till actually it was till January of 2016. So I was not in Nigeria, and so that was how like we actually test run the long distance before I eventually came for my
Love it.
PhD. Mm-hmm.
I like the phrase test run, because I think like a lot of things are very theoretical until they're actually real. And for a lot of
Absolutely.
people watching, it's like you when you're considering, okay, should I get into a relationship with somebody? Like no matter how much you hope, or no matter how much the both of you think that you want this, the actual reality of being in a long distance relationship, it's its own different ball game. And some people
Absolutely.
go in with the best of intentions and still don't do well in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, like what you said about test running, I think that that's very apt. Can you tell us a little bit about what that test run process was like? How did you feel about the separation? What were some things you did to reconnect? And were you able to establish some sort of rhythm within that period when you were away?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, because then all I just needed to do when I came was like take care of my godmom, and I,
Mhm.
I was not in school because being in PhD was totally different from before the PhD program.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we did was like we said we at least thank God for then WhatsApp was I think alive. If not, yes, I think WhatsApp was alive during that period. So thank God for WhatsApp. So that was a lifesaver that we used the Jesus out of WhatsApp during that period. And then we just had that goal that at least every single day that we just check in, even if we cannot call on the phone, like just text to say, how are you doing? What's up? Because, for him, like I said, he was trained to be a medical doctor. He was trained to be a trauma surgeon. So he had to do rotation because even when I was in Nigeria, sometimes like I will not hear from him for 2 days because he's in surgery back to back and he had to sleep and all of that. So he too was trying to prepare me that, Tola, as a wife of a doctor, the life is not going to be easy. It's not the typical like people that they will go 9 to 5 and then that is it. Then they come home at 6 p.m. That is not going to be his life. Sometimes you have to be on call more than 24 hours and things like that. So it actually worked perfectly because he was going to be in a big rotation that required him to be there 24/7. And so it was like, this is good because, and then I was also trying to study for my GRE exam as well. And so I had this schedule of all I had to do was take care of my godmom. And then I had like 10 hours to study a day and then just check in as well. So what we said was like, we don't have to call, but at least every day we should check in voice messages, and then once a week we get like on a WhatsApp call if we can, and then just have that communication. And then also we have to do with what time difference. So then I was 6 hours behind and it was 6 hours ahead. So usually we just drop me voice notes or like leave me messages, and then I will respond when I can because. And so so that was another thing. So, but either Saturday or Sunday, we try to find a time where both of us were online, and then once like a month we do like dates where like then it was Skype. I can't remember whether there was no Zoom then, so it was Skype or Yahoo Messenger where you can watch a movie and then he will order Chinese for me or send me the money to order Chinese, and he will buy one of our like all of those joints that you have, like those jollof rice joints in Nigeria or amala joints, and then we will have like a date. So we're eating different things, but we're watching the same movie or something. Eventually, you will fall asleep. But so we try to talk because he's like the movies makes him sleep. So, but me, I love movies and all of those kind of things. So he always like just let me have it. But usually we'll talk for a bit and then we'll go into like watching the movies or something and just chatting back and forth and things like that. And so that was what helped as well. So we just had this like every day. We don't have to call on the phone, but at least checking to see how we were doing. And then once a week, we have like long calls for like 4 hours, 5 hours, or all of those kind of things if his schedule permits. And then once a month, we do like a date that is like online dates and things like that.
I love how it's broken down into like different ways. And you did kind of stir up a question in me, because I feel like a very great deal of long distance relationship is being able to feel secure in the relationship and to really trust your partner, because the distance, and just like you're describing, depending on who you're with, you might not be able to talk to the person every day or talk to the person in a certain way every day. So what would be your recommendations, or what are some things that helped you be secure or feel secure even though you didn't have the stereotypical, talk every day on the phone or text all the time, like how do you still identify and connect to your security in the relationship?
Absolutely. So, like I said, it started with the two things, like that was on my non-negotiable list. First, you
Mm-hmm.
have to be a believer, because I believe, and I don't micromanage people, and it doesn't micromanage me. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be secure in your own identity first and foremost. And then I have to realize that yes, it might be the love of my life, but he is not like the owner of my life. It is still God that owns me. It is, and so I'm like, and if this is good for me, like, so it went back to my faith in God, to say, okay, God, I trust you that you this right, this person is the right person for me. And because we align in terms of our faith, so it was easy for me to trust him. I didn't have any reason not to trust him, because he was a believer, he believed in God. And so, and he had never done anything to, before I even left, to show me that he was not like someone that will not. And then also, like, based on his track record, because like I said, I knew his family members, I knew his brothers before I even knew him. And so, like, they already told me stories about how he's such a like ethical and serious, that they are even surprised that he's dating somebody like me. And things like that like, I am so lucky, because like it usually, like, he didn't have a lot of girlfriends in college, because his life was all about reading, studying, and everything. And so there was no like pattern to say that he was going to do. And then for me, I like to believe the best of people. Like, I don't judge people. I try not to judge people until they show. You have to prove to me why. Everybody start at 100 with me. You can either go to negative, or you can go to plus 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 plus. And so it's the same way I approach the relationships. Like, whoever I'm meeting, whoever I'm getting into a relationship with, they start at 100. They can reduce that to go to minus 1 million, or they can go to plus 1 million. So it's based on how they interact with me and what they choose to show as their character. And so that was like having the belief that this person has my best interest at heart. If they say that they love me, then they are going to honor our agreement of saying that we are going to be exclusive and things like that as well. And so those were the bases that really helped me. And then, like I said, being secure in who you are, knowing that yes, this person might be the love of your life, but they are not your whole life. Like, you have to be like, you have to have that self-esteem and that self-confidence in yourself, and knowing that, you know what, even if things don't work out, like, you're still fine and you're going to be okay, and giving them the benefit of that. Because, you know, a lot of, and not because we didn't have like people that wanted to add like salt into our gari, right? You know, like, where they say, I cannot believe it, like, long distance relationship and Nigerians don't work. This, and like, there were so many different kind of things, but I refused to, like, I was like, as if I had deaf ears. I'm like, no, I'm going to believe what God says. I'm going to believe in my partner, and I'm going to believe in myself, and I'm going to believe in us, that we are going to be able to. And so it's almost like an affirmation, but like indirectly. I didn't say it out, but it was just like believing the best and choosing to act that way, and hoping the person will give me the same as well. And so those were the things that helped me. And some people might think it's naive, but I don't know any other way to live than that. And so that's how I approach things and I approach life. But yes.
Wow. Wow. Now, to this point, you have pretty much told us everything that is perfect. So I want to ask about your concerns and your fears, either imagined or experienced, that happened through the long distance process.
Absolutely. So I'm not sure if I'll call it so much of like a concern or like fears, but it's more like, you know, sometimes, you know, I told you about like in the beginning it was easy and I didn't allow the word or what the people say. And that was before marriage. But after, fast forward to when we now got married, and that was when things now got a bit more interesting and much hectic. Because before marriage, like I said, I was not in any PhD program. Everything was good. All I was doing was studying, so I had the time. But when I started my PhD, we got married in April. I left Nigeria in August of that 2026. So we had less than 4 months. And then even during that 4 months, it was in one rotation that was like from L. Like, I barely saw him like more than twice a week because of the rotation that I was going through at the hospital. And then that was when also like I found out that I was pregnant, that we're pregnant with our first child, which is Ellen. And so I was going through morning sickness plus all of that. And then so it was just like a combination of all kinds of things. Then fast forward to now being here in the US, then I had classes that I had to attend every day. Then the time difference also was different as well. And so then stuff started happening where like maybe for like 4 days we'll not check in on each other or text each other or something, and then that would create a cause for concern that, wait, how are you doing? Like, you've not even checked on me. Like, you don't even know whether I'm alive or dead or something like that, which is usually coming from me at that period. And so, because, I was at a different stage, because now it was not like I was not just myself alone. I had the responsibility as a PhD student, as a graduate assistant, and now I'm the, what do you call it? the host to a baby that was coming as well. So many things was happening. And so I would say that I was not as patient as I could be. And then also me too, I was like, I had this mentality, like, if he doesn't check on me, then I'll not check on him. Even though he already forewarned me that, you know what, based on the rotation he might be in, he might not be able to check his phone because he might be in surgery or those kind of things as well. And so we sort of like lost that communication during that period, because we didn't, before the marriage, when I was here first, when we were doing the test running, we had the agreement that, what, every day we check on each other, vice versa, but we didn't create that plan. Like, it was even forgot totally what worked the last time or the first time we did it. And so that was where some like issues started coming up, because we were not clear. And then also, we didn't understand each other's schedule. So he thought that it was like, oh, all nice and great, like the other time when I was not in school and all of that, and I was just studying. And so I also failed to communicate that actually think like I have to be in class. The class time may be the time that you're only able to speak with me, and those kind of things as well. And so some of those things like created a bit of like challenges in the beginning, because so I would not even like the first year we struggled. We totally struggled, because there was a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding, and then like a lot of nerves and all of those kind of things, and more speaking that happened as well. But I would say at the end of the day, without even thinking about the hormones, it was lack of communication, not being clear about, okay, this is our plan, this is how we're going to, if this happen, this is the backup for things. So we didn't have any backup. We didn't just thought that, oh, it was going to be fine, and we just didn't really specify what we wanted to do and how we wanted to communicate and things like that. And so that created some issues in the beginning. But thankfully, we were able to like come back to our senses to say, okay, actually, this is not work. Like, to fail to plan is to plan to fail. We didn't plan. Yes, like we didn't. It works for any area of life. I promise you guys. Whether it's for your life, your business, your study, for your marriage, if you fail to plan, you're already planning to fail anyway. And so we had to now come back to actually wait, like we still love each other. We know that we can do this. We're committed to our marriage and everything. But we need to create a plan. What is the plan? What is the plan for finding each other? At that point, he still was not interested in coming to the US. He still believed in Nigeria and everything. And I had like a 3 to 5 years PhD and all of that as well. And then also like we only had like 2 weeks in a year that I could even add a leave from work. And so all of those things. So we didn't plan that, okay, will somebody come over here? And so all of those things were not planned. And so I would say, if you're entering one or you're in one, make sure you have a plan, no matter how tentative, and try as much as possible to honor it. And if something changed, communicate, open your mouth. Whoever it is, whether he or she, they cannot read your mind, because sometimes I expect that you should know. And it's like, it doesn't know. Like, I didn't even send in my schedule for weekly classes or anything. So I just thought that automatically you should just know that, well, I'm in school, so that is it. So that's something that is like, communicate. Don't think that the person is a mind reader and they can see what is going on your own side. Really open your mouth to speak, or send a message, or do a voice note, or send an email, whatever works for you guys. But don't assume, don't let, they said assume is making an ass of each other, you and me. So stop making an ass of each other, because that's what happened. Like, we made an ass of each other because we assumed, then we failed to plan. And so it's critical to communicate. It's critical to have a plan, no matter how tentative that, okay, this is what we are going to do. This is what we're going. And then sometimes it has to do with experimentation. There's no perfect like way in the beginning. You guys, you're new to the relationship as well. No matter how you think that, oh, we've known each other for life, but you're new in that season when you are both distance from each other and you're not in the same location, the same continent, the same time zone. So you need to learn how to say, you know what, let's create a plan. This is what we are going to do. And if this does not work, we'll try this, we'll treat this, and all of that. So those are the things that I would say that you should definitely try. But yes, in the first year of our marriage, it was rough.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you both came through it, because you are one couple that I really, really respect and appreciate how you both really love and support each other. So, and I think that in this age of Instagram cute couples and people always writing all those long captions about how their partner is perfect and they have never done one thing wrong in a day of their lives and marriages. Like, it is so healthy to see people who are making it work, who are acknowledging that there are tough times, but that there's always a way out of it. And so I really appreciate that. What are some things, I mean, you've kind of told us like some things you did to stay connected at the initial stage. You've also told us about how you resolved the conflict you also had at the initial stage. And so my next question is, what are some things, so when you kind of established some sort of rhythm, so first year of marriage gone by, and I have heard that a lot of people actually have challenges the first year, funny enough. And so once you get through that first year, and it's almost like the storm is a little, the river water is a little calm. What are some things you started to do to either rekindle the connection or rebuild the connection or establish a new rhythm for yourself?
Absolutely. So, like, I always like to, I like a lot of quotes. So, you hear me say one of my favorite quotes is, but one of my top one is, an unexamined life is not worth living. So, it's whether it's like individual or like in a relationship. So, one of the things that we had to do was to examine what worked for us before. And realize that in the beginning, like when you're like just meeting each other and you're interested in each other, you talk every day, you chat every day, and you send each other notes and everything. So it's like, okay, what works? And so that was when we had to go back to that. What works for us? And so I realized that it means talking to me every day that we used to, like when we used to. And I also means that, and just being able to like hear his thought about things. And we used to do like debates. People would think that maybe like because sometimes like just because like we love each other doesn't mean that we believe in the same thing or we agree on the same thing. And so sometimes like we have LD debate where we just go about, we pick a topic, somebody can pick any topic, and then we just talk about it, and then we just debate it till like until we can no longer debate it, and then eventually agree to disagree. And so like thinking like what worked, and so that's one thing we had to go back to, what worked in the past for us. And so that helped us to reestablish those things, like, okay, this worked for us, can we bring it back and ensure that we commit to this daily or weekly or whatever, monthly. And so that was one thing that we had to look at. Then we also have to create our own rules for ourselves to say, in this relationship, because as you join together, even if you're not married, even if you're just still dating or you're each other's engaged to each other, sometimes there's this issue about what happened in your own family, about, because we all come with baggages. We all have it. Even though we are both Christians and we believe in God, we were not raised the same way. So that also brought in some conflict too, because I believe, and then think about it, I spent more than 6 years of my life studying in the US before I came back to Nigeria. So a lot of things have changed about myself and what I always stand, some things that I stand for. And so we had to come back to the table to say, okay, when we have a disagreement, this is what we are not going to do, or this is what we're going to do. So we have to establish those things that, okay, we're going to talk to each other, we're going to believe the best of each other. And then more importantly, we're not going to be telling our family member what is going on, because that can also create a lot of discuss as well. And so we had to come up with our own rule. Not like this, not saying that this is how my family does it, so it must be the way. No, we had to sit down and say, what do we want for our future? We are a nuclear family. Yes, we believe in our extended family and we love them and we cherish them, but we come first. So it has to be me and my husband, then my children, and then my extended family, right? And so we had to sit down and really, really commit to that, to say what are going to be some of these things for us and what are going to be some of our non-negotiables in those ways as well. And so that was another thing that really helped us, is like, okay, what I must do or must not do. Of course, it's not every time that we are perfect. Sometimes, like, you get so angry and you're like, today I am choosing not to obey this rule. And those times have happened too. I'll not even lie. But in essence, it's just really saying that, this is what we are committed to and this is what we're going to. So like really establishing those rules and then really honoring them, because you're committing to it, to say like, this is our commitment. Like, so having like a family value or relationship value, then also like making time beyond just the ordinary day-to-day to like do the date night. So we also stopped doing the monthly date nights and like hanging out together like we specified. And so we brought that back again, say, so usually every week, like, got to one point, he will be sending me like Domino's pizza. He will say, I just ordered Domino's pizza for you, go pick it up. Or they'll come and deliver it to you. So for almost 3 months, I was eating Domino's pizza every single week. Because he would have already paid for it. They say, I called this or I sent, or I did it online or whatever. And then so that was really, really helpful too in helping as well. So just like really like what worked in the past. So examine what worked in the past and then create specific rules for your family, not because of the way your own parent did it or the way his own parent did, but for you, you're coming together. So some things you have to like agree to disagree. Some things you have to like, okay, these things we are not going to continue or practice in this new union. And these things we are going to try. It's going to be our own way of building our own like connection and go from there.
Got it. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. What are the things you liked about the long distance? Because I've heard from people that it's not all bad. Like when they actually come back together, there are some aspects of being apart that they miss. So what are those things for you?
Yeah, what I liked about it.
Yes, what do you like about being apart? Yeah.
So what I like about it, and I'm sure even Shion would say it, what he like was the independence. Like, you know, having your own space, decorating how you want without anybody saying, well, I don't think that's a good color or that's a good piece of art or things like that. And so that was something that I really love. Is like, cause like I said, I left Nigeria when I was 18. Like actually before I was 18 to come and study in the US, and I didn't know anybody here. And so like I and my parents raised me to be very independent. So like and then he too, he liked his own space and things like that as well. And so like just having a space and everything, and just not anybody like messing with the, you know, like some people have specific way of doing things. And so that was one thing that like I loved about it. And then also just like it's always new, like because like you've just seen this person in a while, but each time that you talk there's just this newness. Like, how are you? Tell me about your day. Like we're in 2 different countries, you know, things are happening in the world, so you can compare notes and share about things and those kind of things as well. And so there was just that newness in terms of like, oh, there's always fresh gist that was going to happen because you're not living in the same context. And so we can compare and contrast what is happening in both of our environments as well. So that was another thing that I really loved about it. And then it also allowed for like those long gist discussion into late in the night. You know, like here with children, with work and everything, we hardly have 1 hour without the phone or somebody saying we should come and do this or stuff. And so then like we really prioritize each other, that we can go for 5 hours or more just talking and chatting about everything. And so that was another thing that I really loved about that too.
Yeah. Wow. I like it. Okay. So let's talk about the closing of the distance, because for a lot of people, I mean, there are people who do this for 20 years. I mean, power to them, you know, a strong elbow. There are people who do this for, you know, the majority of their relationship. But for you both, at some point, there was a serious conversation of this has to close the gap. So what was that point for you and your husband, where it became a serious conversation of we can't stay apart any longer?
Absolutely. So like I said, our daughter is going to be 5 on Monday. So she was the one that actually made it more, because, you know, I was here, he was still in Nigeria and all of that. And so, but, you know, she was growing older. So she was like 2.5 years old and he was still not here. We only see him 10 days in a year. And that was because out of the 2 weeks he has to use 4 days to travel, 2 days to come, 2 days to go back. So we only had 10 days together, and that was it. And so like we realized that we didn't want our children to grow up without knowing each other like deeply and really having that relationship with their dad. Not that, yes, we used WhatsApp, we used all of those things, but it's not the same as like being there. Like it was not even here when she was born. It was 2 days late because she came early. And so like it was after we were out of the hospital that I finally was able to like meet her and all of that. And so she was one that like the battle of our daughter led to that conversation to say like we need to start thinking about how we can be in the same location, or at least in the same country or the same continent. Because the more she grows, like I believe there's a role that a mom should play and there's a role a father should play, irrespective. And so we wanted to make sure that both of us can do that, and not that one person is doing both the father and the mother load at the same time. And so it was because of her, and then also because of like in terms of his career path and the shift in terms of what he wanted to do and the way that he viewed the world. It was like, actually, I'm ready to look for better opportunities outside of where he was as well. So those were the 2 major things that actually led to it. Was like, we want our daughter to grow up knowing both of us and having a good relationship with both of us, not a long distance father-daughter relationship. So that was the biggest part. And then the second part was in terms of his career development and what he wanted for academically as well.
I like how you explained this and broke this down. And so correct me if I'm wrong. So you're saying that even the point of closing the distance was not really about the both of you and how you felt about each other or your relationship. It was these other issues. And so if these other things were, like, if for example it took you longer to have your first child and his opinion about, you know, wanting to stay in Nigeria did not change, you both would have been in a long distance relationship longer.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't doubt that at all. And assuming, like, because think about it, the plan was that if I wasn't pregnant the first year. You know, the way that the academic session work here in the US is that you have at least almost 4 months in a year where you don't do anything. So the plan would have been, okay, I'll go back to Nigeria, right? And because I had more time, it only has 2 weeks. So that was the fear in terms of like just being fair in those calculations. But I couldn't travel at that time because she actually came in February, like I said. And so I couldn't travel and all of that because I just had a baby and things like that. So it didn't make sense in that. So it was not about us. It was more about what I've shifted in terms of our career. And then in our family, we now have an entire human being to worry about and take care of. And so honestly, we could have continue that and it will still be fine because like I said, we established those clear boundaries and we had that non-negotiable, and if we stick to it then we didn't have any problem. It's only the days or weeks that we break it and we don't make a plan to like correct it, that's when we had issues and challenges. So yes, we'll have continued it, but that was the difference because things shifted for him in terms of where he wanted to be, and then having a daughter also shifted things as well.
Okay. Wow, that's really nice. All right. How did you start to close the distance? So what were the steps you took after you both made the decision that, you know, in your case, he had to move to the US?
Absolutely. So yeah, that was a very, like, I still cannot believe that he did that anyway, but I'm thankful that he did, because what happened was that, like I said, he was training to be a trauma surgeon. He has spent years and years invested in this, like, and so it's not like it's easy for him to just come and become a doctor yet. No such luck. If he moved there, he has to start from the beginning and from scratch all over again. And so, but he realized that I love you, like, and I told you I'm never going to be the person that would derail you in any way, and you're not derailing me because I know that it's better for me. Because from the beginning, he has always had the option to come here. He had the visa, he had everything, so it was not like there was an issue with that. But he just wanted to stay in Nigeria, and he had some certain things that he felt he needed to first do and be, and then things shifted and said, you know what, at this point, it's okay. I want to leave and I want to go forward. So the first thing we had to think of was like, okay, what is the best way to be able to come here in a way that will be less stressful? And so we talked about it. And so the first step was thinking, okay, you know what, like maybe he should come for his PhD, because thinking of, yes, he was a medical doctor and he still wanted to be in medicine and things like that, but it was not going to be easy to just come here and become a medical doctor. So it's okay, what does he need? Because that's his vision. And like the same way he supports me and my dream in whatever I want to do, I also support him as well. So I said, okay, what is the plan? You still want to be a medical doctor. That is still the goal. But now there's a derailment, right? It's going to take longer because it's shifting location and all. And so the first thing we have to look, okay, what is the next right pathway? And so we knew that him coming on a F2 visa or was not going to work, because he want to work, he want to be able to go to school and things like that. And so we said, you know what, PhD was the next best thing. And so I actually helped him with the process of looking for the right schools and everything. And so we applied for schools in my own city. Then we found schools around the city and state I was in, but they were less than 4 hours away. So in case he doesn't get into it or he doesn't get full scholarship within my own school, because I was still a PhD student still, then at least we'll be 4 hours away from each other, not 20 hours by driving. That will be 4 hours away from each other. And so that was what we did. So we chose the education path. And so he applied and he got accepted for his PhD in public health. And yes, he didn't go to my school because they didn't give him full scholarship and all of that. So he eventually got into UNCC, I was living in Tennessee then. and then UNCC Charlotte. So that was 4 hours away from Tennessee. So we planned for it to say, you know what, we don't want somewhere in Texas or in Minnesota when I'm in. So we chose like the same East Coast or whatever they call it, or the South. So that at least 4 hours driving was not going to be anything of difficulty. Then also another thing I did was to now start having conversation with my program then, because I realized that I was done with my coursework. So I was like, wait, I don't have to stay here. Like, what if I move to go and meeting in Charlotte instead of still doing long distance from Tennessee to Charlotte? That let me see. And then so I asked them, and they said yes, that since I was done with my coursework, I can do my research online. And so even before the pandemic and everything, so that was how I was able to move me and my daughter to go meeting when it came to Charlotte. And so that was how we were able to like transition over from long distance in location, in continent and everything, to being together as a family.
Wow. Congratulations for that. And I honestly still remember you driving that U-Haul truck. Mm-hmm. I would never forget.
You were there to help us to unload. Yes. Thanks to you and your brother.
I saw you come down from that monstrosity, and I was like, I said, what?
Oh my goodness. I just remember those days now. Oh my gosh.
I was like, this woman will not kill somebody. Like that truck, I just could not believe it. And you, like, you are one hell of a woman, and I really appreciate you. Wow.
You.
Okay. Now, and so the process of closing a long distance relationship, I think for a lot of people, they don't realize that it's not a smooth process.
No.
It's not even as simple as person A moving from one country to the other. There is a lot that even kind of goes into establishing a new rhythm and a new
absolutely yes
in your new location and in your new base, right? Can you tell us more about what that experience like?
Yes, so it was almost as if the first year of marriage all over again. Like I said, one of the things I loved about the long distance was the independence, right? And being able to do things and have things your way and all of that. But now you have a whole new person to like, and you know, like, yes, you still talk is different. Now you're seeing each other every day. Like, so little things that you don't usually observe will start showing up as well. And so it was like a first year of marriage. So we had to relearn like how to operate as a unit, because we were independent units. Now we had to come together as one whole unit. And so there was a lot of like shifting and movement. And then we now had a daughter too. So my daughter was like, wait, who is this person that is now staying and taking my mom's attention from me? So there was also that battle of like, now it's just my daughter and me, right? And so she always, then all of a sudden she's like, no, this is me and Dada's time, or me. Like, she doesn't understand that concept that, wait, I cannot, this is my time to go to sleep. I cannot sleep in my mom's bed again, and things like that as well. And so that also happened as well in the fact that we had to understand each other, because there were so many like little things. And then the new schedule, now I had to be a stay-at-home person, because remember, I was in Tennessee, I was able to go out and go to school. I've never been a stay-at-home anybody in my life until then. So he got to go out every day, and I got to sit at home and be just taking care of our daughter 24/7, because there was no need for daycare. Now that I can work from home, I can do school from home and all of that. And so that was a whole, and I was not prepared for it, because mentally I did not even know what that looked like and felt like. And like I said, I knew myself, so I knew that I was never supposed to be a stay-at-home mom for any good reason, any reason. I applaud those people that are, and I think it's excellent and wonderful. But for me, I knew that this was not for me. I wanted to be someone that could go out and do my stuff and have my own space in my office or my own whatever, then come home and take on the mom role. Not that 24/7 I had to be a mom while I was every other thing as well. And so that was also another shift that I didn't prepare for. Was like, oh my goodness. So I struggled the first 6 months, because I didn't like the fact that I had to be at home 24/7. All I had to talk to was just my daughter, David. I say hi. You're tired of sitting. Say, can you see? No, here. Say hi. This is David. All right.
Hi, David.
Can you go? Thank you. Go get it. I'll come and help you. But anyways, to cut the long story short, so yes, I had to now redefine myself because I lost myself in that place because I was like, this is not me. Like I started resenting him for being able to go out, and then I was not able to go out. And it was not anybody's fault. It was just what that made economical sense at that period. But for me, I was just like, no way. And so that was another thing that I had to now adjust to, was like, oh my goodness, like this is a whole different shift in my identity. And I had to like sort of like do that. And so it was not his fault, it was not anybody's fault. It was just like I wasn't prepared. I didn't even think that it was, but thankfully I was able to like recover and figure things out. But yes, like in the beginning, the first 6 months, it was like a whole new, like as if we're just starting marriage all over again.
So please, if you have been watching, say something back to us, because we would really
please
love to
ask any question
with you.
no,
ask any questions or share any thoughts. First year of marriage part 2. It's like, there's this saying that be careful what you wish for, because you may just get it. So I think for a lot of people, the climb to close this distance. It's such an exhausting, maybe draining, financially, emotional process. Like, I'm grateful for the both of you that, the visa process was like smooth. So there's not even many things to maybe say about that. But like, you finally cross the distance, and then there's this whole different thing waiting for you that you may not even have thought about to pray about or prepare for, whatever you do. And so now you're at this point, you have to redefine yourself, right? Even to an extent, redefine the relationship.
Yeah.
And I mean, what are your thoughts and even your experiences on even redefining gender roles as a Nigerian woman married to a Nigerian man who has been in Nigeria his whole life?
So the first thing was like, another thing I didn't even go there like that. It was going to be a shock to him, the way the US operates. Because he has always visited for 10 days and that was it. So you always see the like tourist side of things and everything. But now living here 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year or whatever, it was different. So he had like different, like you also grew up in Nigeria. We know you have certain things about certain things. And then I was in social work, he was in public health. So think about it. It's like me, I was more of the social kind of person. It was like a scientist to the core. And me, I'm more of like a feely person and everything. So it was abstract and I was not abstract at all. So that was another thing that also happened, because we used to have a lot of argument, political issues, social issues, like we're usually always on the same opposite side sometimes. And we have to have these blow out like arguments, which was very great and exciting. But sometimes if you didn't undo it well, it can create like division between us as well. And so I totally even didn't consider his own side of like, he's new to this environment. He doesn't know how things work. I have been here for like that at that point almost 8 years. So I just took a lot of things for granted and thought that, he should just know. And I didn't even help him to say, okay, orientation 101. I did not think about doing that. And so now in thinking back, I was like, I wish there was something. Because I'll give you an example. One time we went to like Subway. And then he said, okay, he wanted to order something. I don't like vegetables because I can't eat them unless I turn it into juice. So, but I don't know what happened, but I was not in a good mood. And then it was like, I should, whatever I want, that's what he wants. And I'm like, no, you cannot have whatever I want. But the reason why he was saying that whatever I wanted was because he didn't know how to order. And it didn't even come to my mind that actually the issue might be he doesn't know how to order. So he doesn't want to keep the line like other people behind. So he just said, whatever you order, just do the same thing for me. But I was like, no, you cannot order what I want. And I just turned it into something that I should not have turned it into. And so it was just like, actually, this is very dumb of me that he didn't even know what to order. And I never even executed. This is how they do it. This is what Subway is. This is like, because he has never really been in that kind of restaurant system like Subway, where you have to pick the kind of bread you want, the kind of meat, and all of those kind of things. And so that was one thing that I noticed. So really, to like really do that orientation. So reorientation. That was one. And then also regarding the gender role. So like I said, like I am not supposed to be a stay-at-home person. And so like, and it was not an issue of like, and so it just like, yes, we just fell into that role of traditional, okay, you take care of the house and the children and all of that. Not because he did not want to help, but I never asked for his help. So he just thought that I could do it, but I would be doing it and be angry about it.
Resenting it on the back.
So she tell her, what is wrong? I'll say nothing. I say, okay, and then we'll just say, okay, you don't even bother to probe further. I'm like, what kind of scientist is this? Nothing is not nothing. In women's language, nothing means that something is really, really wrong.
When the woman tells you nothing, that is when you're supposed to drop your bag down and say,
please talk
let
to
us
me,
talk.
right? But that was not the case. We just assume, you just take my word for face value. So I will be filming and you will think that there's nothing wrong. And like, no. So I have to, like, again, back to communicating. They cannot read your mind. Your partners cannot read your mind. So having that, they actually know something is wrong. When I say nothing, that is when you should actually sit down and say, tell me, like, the nothing that is nothing, tell me. And so I had to tell them that, you know what, I do not like being just staying at home. Yes, I have to do my research and everything, but it's a lot. Like, I want to find something else to do beyond just sitting at home. So I look for opportunity to volunteer. So eventually when we had that discussion, because I was just like, no, this is not me. Like, I just felt almost like close to being depressed about just, not because I don't love being a mom, please don't get me wrong, but it was just different. It was a different ship all my life. It's like been go, go, go. I'm always out there doing things. And all of a sudden, now I'm just indoor 24/7. Some days I will not go out for 5 days. If it's not like Sunday that we have to go to church. And it's like, it just was different. It was a totally a season I've never been in my life. And so finally, like, when I was not trying to open up, say, actually, there is something. And I finally explained, like, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm going through. That's okay. How can I help? Then we now created the plan. So, okay, what if I find a volunteer thing I can do that can get me out of the day? Then he can be at home and things like that. And so we're able to now create those kind of things as well. But yes, but then I was just like, I thought that like I was just angry for no good reason, and I wouldn't tell him why, and he wouldn't know, and would just think that everything was fine. And so it was very important to like just have that conversation and really say, okay, this is what is going on, this is how I feel. Is a new different role for me entirely. And he was adjusting. He was new to a lot of different things and new to so many things, and there was no orientation. It was just like, you are in it, that is it. And there was no pre-planning, no test running at all. So like I said, it was like the first year of marriage all over again, even though we were into our third year during that period. And so we have to reestablish all of those things. Okay, you know what, just because normally in Nigeria, here in the US, like, it is free for all. Like, it's you, like, and so we now got to the point where he actually now cooks more than me during that season, because I'm like, I'm tired of doing this. Like, no, I don't want to. So I was like, okay, fine, what do you need? And I'm like, well, I prefer it if you can cook me. I can make the stew, but any other thing, you can do it. And so we created a schedule where, like, usually, like now he doesn't do that again because things have shifted again in our whatever. But then for almost 2 years, it was one doing most of the cooking, most of the house stuff, and then I am just like left alone to do whatever I want. But so each time, like, I think keeping that connection going and checking in with each other, like, don't just assume that things are fine. Like, check in with each other, because that was something, like, when you stop checking in, when you just start assuming and thinking that, then that's when things start to fall apart. So checking. Make the time to check in to say, okay, how is this? Is this still good? Is this still our plan? Is this still and ask question. Like, you can never go wrong in asking question as well.
Wow. I appreciate that. Two things stand out to me. First is, like, not just the obvious communication piece. And I have a thought about that I want to share. The second is reevaluating the plan and changing if it no longer works. And there's also the part of what you said at the beginning, having somebody who is a true partner, who your complaints are not triggering them to be defensive, but it's more, okay, how can we do this so that you are happy and we are back on the same page? So I really love that you both have that. But I am curious about something. I think also because I have seen it play out in my own life, how, you know, we African women have these big jobs and big titles, and we are very assertive and very what we want out there, bold and all. And then we come back home and we don't bring that same energy. It's almost like we are because you're right, but it's almost like, I understand how you feel about something bothers you. You can say it, but you're not saying it. And I don't know that I fully understand the psychology of it, other than the fact that maybe despite how hard we try, sometimes the only way we know how to be is how our mothers were, or how our
Exactly.
aunties were, or how
Mm-hmm.
like the women that we saw around us were. And you
Mm-hmm.
know, that idea of keeping the peace or not rocking the boat, and you
Mm-hmm.
know, doing that in exchange for your silence and your kind of flowing with status quo, even
Mm-hmm.
though it doesn't suit you, or even though it's not comfortable for you.
Yes.
That's a
Right.
long-winded way of saying what are your thoughts, or how do you deal with
Yes. So it is true, and like honestly, it is still a work in progress for me. And like I had to, like I said, even though you're in a relationship, whether marriage or you're still thinking about being together, you're still an entity. So don't lose yourself. The moment you start losing yourself, every other person is going to suffer. So there was this quote that I really love that said, like if I like you have to feel yourself first. If you
that?
stop feeling yourself, and you keep pointing to others, at the end of the day, you're going to go to negative. It's not going to be zero. You're going to be like, it will be so dry that
Mhm.
nothing that you give, no matter the effort you're trying to give out, is you're not going to get the result that you want. And so one of the things that I have learned to do, and it took a lot of like you said, being assertive, bringing that back to say, you know what, I love you, I love our family, but I need my space, I need my time. So every quarter, I take at least 2 days. It is standing. Now it's my husband that books it for me. You have to tell her when you want to go. When you want to go. When like sometimes I go outside of my state. Well, sometimes it's the same city, but 2 days. I'm nobody's wife. I'm not nobody's mother. I'm nobody's anything. I just go into an hotel, buy my Chinese food, watch movies, sleep for as long as I don't even bother to call anybody. I just call them to say or text to say I'm here, and then when I'm leaving, I'm leaving. Like he knows that they cannot communicate to me, no matter what is going on. They cannot reach me, and so I have learned to do that self-care. And self-care is not wrong. Please don't take me wrong. It doesn't mean that you love your children less. It doesn't mean that you love your partner less. No, it's just about realizing that I give and give and give, because as a woman, we have so many roles. Like we
And
take on so many things. And so it's so important that you are able to feel, and it's not the same thing. Not let nobody, except maybe for stay-at-home fathers, then I can relate to them, because as a woman, like I still have a 9 to 5. Even in this pandemic, I still have to work, and then I still have children that couldn't go anywhere. And I'm supposed to be their teacher, their mother, their ride, their diaper changer, their feeder, everything, all of those things. So it's a lot to juggle, and I have other responsibility and things that also I'm committed to associations and stuff like that. And so one of the things that I have to realize is like I need my time. I need my time. So like I had to create that to say like every week, like on Mondays, I don't do anything. Anything. Mondays, like no class, no teacher, like everybody's out of the house. So the first, like from morning to afternoon, I don't have anything on my calendar. I can do whatever I choose to do, or not do anything. I can, if I like, I can sleep. If I like, I can just watch like training videos or whatever I want to do. So every Monday for me, because you can say weekend. Weekend is not for me, because my children, you can hear them in the background. They are going nuts already, right? Because sometimes my husband works during the weekend for today. That's why he cannot be here with us. He has to be at work. So imagine that kind of situation. So weekends are not, you cannot even say that, oh, I'll wait till weekend. Because weekend is normal day for me. So I choose a day of the week. Yours does not have to be Monday. Choose a day. It doesn't have to be one day. I started with 1 hour. Then I went to half a day. And now I'm falling back at one day. But I have to really communicated that I need my time to reset. That I'm not anybody's mom, I'm not anybody's wife, I'm just taller, and that is it. Like I'm not anybody's anything, I'm not any doctor, I'm not any professor, I'm just me. And I just want to like check in with myself. How am I doing? What went well for me last week? What did not go well? And just hear myself think, hear myself breathe, hear myself do whatever I want to do and be fine with that. So take that time, whether or not you're a woman, like you're married or not, whether or not you have children or not, start practicing, especially if you're not married, God said, if you don't have any children, start practicing it. Intentionally find time. I turn off my phone, nobody can reach me. It's on do not disturb. Even if you call me, I will not know. I will not hear the notification. I will not hear anything until after a certain time. But my do not disturb is from one time to another time. So that was the first thing I had to do. And my husband did not understand. So I had to take him back to bed. But Jesus even took the time to go and do. I had to, it was Jesus that finally helped us settle this matter. Because he didn't understand. He used to think like, wait, are you saying that we're not enough for you? And like, that is not, because you know, like I said, he thinks abstractly. I think so I said, it's not about not being enough. I need to feel myself. I feel so like used going in so many directions that I cannot even think for myself. So I told him like, no, look at Jesus. Let us use him as our example. The Bible as a book. Jesus took the time away from his disciples. He took the time away from his family. He took the time away from his ministry just to be by himself. So I said, that's what I'm practicing, and that if it's in the Bible, you cannot refute it. So that was the end. But finally now he has come to account, because he said, Tola, your energy is different. Like, so every quarter in March, I'm doing a 3-day. I'm now moving from 2 days to 3 days. So like every quarter it is planned. Every week I find hours or one day to just re-energize myself, to renew myself, listen to inspiring messages, whatever it is that I want. Like, just do that and really, really soak myself in and say, okay, what do I want in this direction of my life? How can I be a better mom? How can I be a better partner? How can I be a better this and that and that? Because if you don't take that time, you're just going to be running helter-skelter. At the end of the day, you're not moving forward, you're not moving backward. Like, you don't even know what you've accomplished. And so that's and so you have to be assertive. And so, and it was a tug of war, because he didn't understand. He felt like cause some of this time my renewal will be during vacation time. And I'm like, yes, we have 2 weeks of vacation. I need 2 days to myself personally. 10 days I will stay with you guys, but these 2 days I am not negotiating. So you have to affirm, and like, you cannot lose yourself, because once you start losing yourself, you're not going to be anybody's anything. You're not going to be good to anyone in that regard. You might think that you're doing okay, but you're not really doing okay. You're barely existing. So understand yourself, know who you are, and don't try to be superwoman. Yes, it's great. We all aspire to be super. Like, Wonder Woman is on my office. She's my avatar. She's my, what do you call it? That the person I aspire to be. But at the same time, they didn't tell us that she had a children or she was married. So Wonder Woman did not have children or even was married in the movies that we watched. If you are, then you're better than Wonder Woman in that sense, because you have to juggle so many different like relationship and things like that. So take the time for yourself. It is not waste of time to find time for yourself, to do things by yourself. Like, sometimes I'll tell my children after 6 o'clock they're going to their room. They cannot come out because I need my time by myself in my room. They cannot knock on the door. Not because I don't love them. I make time for them. We have family time. But I need my own time, because if you don't pour into yourself, I will be no good to them, and I will be no good to anyone. So that will be the long and short of it. It's like, take care of yourself and don't be afraid. Yes, sometimes it might be uncomfortable, but you need to have those uncomfortable, because if not, you just keep piling it up, and one day you will just like blow up, and then it will not be good for anyone. So you need to, and if your spouse does, like I said, my husband did not understand at all in the beginning. It's just last year that I finally came to say that this is not, this is here to stay. And I'm like, if you want it, you can have it. So having that is like, you can have it too if you want it. So it's not like but he doesn't want it, he thinks it's fine. I'm like, great. But me, I need it. So we are going to make it work that I have it, and I'm going to take it. Yeah. So in the beginning, I took it by force, but now we're on the same page.
Got it. Wow. I like that. I really do like that, because I have noticed, even from personal experiences, that the times that I feel the most connected to myself is the time I feel like I am my best advocate, right? Versus when I am worrying about every other person but me. And just to kind of corroborate or to support what you even said further, I was at a conference and I met this woman who actually said that one of the things that has helped her stay married is actually every month, both of them have to take a day where they are away from the whole family. And so they would either stay in a hotel, or not both of them together, like her separately, the husband separately. So you either stay in a hotel, stay at a friend's place, but the same, not calling, not texting, just being like 24 hours to yourself, separate from the family and everything else, and rejoining back afterwards. That it has been a life, if you're married, saving thing for them. And I agree. And it's not something we heard growing up. And so at least for me, I see it differently now. But if I had heard this 10 years ago, it would have scared me. It would have been like a, wow, what is going to happen?
Oh my God, I'm going to let the devil take over my marriage.
It was there is that misconception of, if you're not always together in each other's faces, then you're not in love and you're not connected. And that is not true.
No, it's not. It's not. Honestly, like, it actually helps you. And then, like, you are able to appreciate, like, because guess what? My husband, like I said, he works, like, he's a workaholic. He will leave home by 7 o'clock. He might not get back until 9 p.m. So even though I'm also working from whatever to 5 p.m., I am still in charge of the children and going to pick up and all of that. So the first time it happened, where you had to stay with them for just like Oh, sometimes too, when I go and do shopping, normally I don't like shopping, but that's another way that I escape. Some days, like, it's okay, I'm going shopping, I'm not taking anybody. So I might spend up to 3 hours. I say, Tola, when are you coming back? These children are stressing me out. So that's another one for you guys. If you're married and you have children, it's like, just go shop by yourself. And during that time, you like take 1 hour for coffee. It does not matter. I don't like, nobody is going to, when you come back is when you come back. Yes. But anyway, but the point is that, like, in the beginning, you didn't used to appreciate what I used to do, because you know you come back and say, I'm so tired when he comes back to me. But Tola, you didn't go anywhere, you're at home. And like, so like those things used to make me so mad. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do something. Like, this day I'm going out and I'm not going to be back until 5 p.m. that I want to go and study in the library. I turned off my phone. By the time I have my phone back, when I had like 10 minutes, like voicemail from my husband, when are you coming back? This like now, ever since that day, it doesn't say that, Tola, I don't know what you like it's like sometimes even the house is not properly done. It's like, it's because that day they showed him pepper. That was the first day he had them by himself for a few hours, longer than 2 hours, and it was like, oh my goodness, now I understand what you mean. Like, I cannot focus, I couldn't get anything done, they were disturbing my meeting, they were like, I'm like, okay, I was just like, I see, oh, now you know. But sometimes they don't know. They don't know until, so you have to show them, say, you know what, because sometimes, like, you know, we take each other for granted. We think that, but it's just this, but you don't know the energy, because you're shifting. Like, it's like 24, like, it's because I give them tab time. That's why they did not come and disturb us too much than one time that David came. As like, that is like, my tablets are at their messes. They're watching their YouTube Kids on it. That's why I'm able to have this, because like I said, my husband is not home. If not, this place will have been like so noisy and everything. They're still in the background. I can still hear them. I can easily go to them if I need to. So that's why it's so key that, like, you need to, like, speak up for yourself to say, for the good of this marriage, for the good of this relation, for the good of our family, I need this time, I need this. And don't be afraid. I know growing up, that was not the culture. They expect us to be super whatever and not, but this time around, silence is to your death. And I'm not mean like physical death, it's like emotional death, every other thing, career death, everything. Silence is to that. Because I even remember doing my PhD program, which is not like relationship focused, but it's still related. There were 4 of us that were girls and 1 male. And it used to make us mad, because he would be publishing paper like that. All of us were married, all of us had children. And then we used to feel so like bad that we're not doing, but he was single. He did not have any children. So he could do whatever. But we have to not just think about our papers. We have to think about our family, our husband. What will our children eat? What will our family eat? So we're not producing as he was producing. So it used to make me like, and so I realized that, you know what? If I don't ask for it, I'm not going to get it. If I don't say that I need this time, I'm not going to get it. So I have to say, you know what? I need this time, because I also want to be productive. I have future plan. I can be a great mom and I can still have a great career. It's not either or. It's not like I have to pick one. I can do both and I can do it, but we have to work together. You have to help me and support me in this way, because if not, I'll focus more on being the mom and not let the other one slide. And then it will not be anybody's fault anyway. And so really having that conversation to understand that the way that the society is set up, irrespective of where you are, whether it's US, Nigeria, wherever country, there's always this higher regard for male, and then the responsibility is like, you just show up and correct, and then that is it. But you have to be the bad guy, you have to be the nurturer, you have to be the person that provides food and all of those kind of things. And so if you don't redefine it for yourself as a family and as people together, as partners, you're just going to fall into the trap of what our parents did, and they thought it was okay. And in this kind of world that we are in, things have shifted, and it's okay to shift with it. It's okay to change. It's okay to mold yourself into your version of what you want. So don't allow the society to give you their blueprint. You guys come together, think together, and create your plan together. Then work towards it together, and keep affirming each other and encouraging each other as you go. But if not, you're just going to fall into any plan if you don't plan for your own life together.
Wow. My last question for this series is, how did you both prepare a strong visa application? I feel like in my order of questions, it was supposed to be earlier. But I know that a lot of people here would want to know how you actually prepared the application for him to, go to the embassy. The US embassy is notorious for denying people, and how you both were able to make that case for the non-immigrant visa, even though you and Ellen at that time were here.
Absolutely. So what we did was initially, like I said, when I was first coming, when I was leaving Nigeria for my PhD, I applied for F1. We applied for him for B1, B2. That he just want to come and visit that. And we got it. We went together, even though our name were not the same. Because I still had not changed my husband's name. I still have not changed up to now anyway. But so that was it. So that was the first thing. Because if you try to apply for F2, because I've seen couple that are denied it, like it's the one that is just living in, like, so if your partner, maybe they've not decided whether they want to come over or not. So I would say the ones I've seen that work based on my own experiences, like we did F1 and then we did B1, B2. So that was why. So I got the.
Oh, you went together.
Yeah, we went together. We were separate because he wanted to be able to at least come and visit, even though he was not following me to the US when I was starting my PhD. So that was what we did was like, because we said, you know what? Then his perception was like he didn't want to come then, so he just wanted to come and visit. He didn't need an F2, he wanted a B1, B2, and so we got it. So like I'll say that might make it easier on those visa people to not see you guys as a threat that, oh, if they leave they'll never come back. Sometimes that's what they have, and so even if that's not the case, so try to like do that. I just want to come and visit, and I will be able to come and visit. And then anything change and you choose to say that's wonderful and great, but and there's a way that you can change that. So that was the first time. And then when I was now here, and then he was now ready to come as an F1 student. Yeah, I still said that, oh yes, I have family over there and everything. And he was going to UNCC. I was still in Tennessee. So like I don't know how it happened, but then he now applied for F1 and he still got it as well. And so that was how we did. But initially all he had was B1, B2 before he now got into his own F1.
Awesome. And for people watching, coming in with F1 gives the advantage of course, you being in school and trying to map out a career for yourself in the US, but also you being able to earn money as a student, which you cannot do with F2, coming in as a dependent. You can't work with F2, and you can't also work with B1, B2. So if you're considering your options, kind of knowing what the limitations for each visa is will help you plan accordingly.
Absolutely.
Oh, there's a question I can read. I'm Catholic. My girlfriend is Protestant. She's an amazing person. In Nigeria, it's looking like it won't work. We are planning to choose schools in Ontario. Our families are strict religiously. Wow, that is a loaded one. Tola, I guess let you tackle that one first.
And then you can also add your own thing. Yeah. So I'll say, first and foremost, like, no disrespect to your family, but it is not about them. You guys have to decide for yourself. Does your value align irrespective of your different, like, religious association or religious, like, kind of like this thing? So my husband used to be a Catholic too. Like, he was a conk, like all his family changed to become Protestant, and he was like, no way, this is a sin. But finally he came around. So things can change. And like I said, I told you guys my history. I don't know whether you joined. My dad was a Muslim for the first 15 years of my life. My mom was a Christian. They were in total different religion, and they still made it work. And if yes, their family had everything to say, they are still married. They are like more than 45 years in marriage now, and they're still going strong every single day. But not that they didn't, but you guys have to decide. It's not about your family. For right now, reduce the noise about your family. What do you guys want? So it's not about asking us whether it will work. The question is, do you guys want it to work? Because this is it. If you want it to work, you will make the way for it. If you don't want it to work, you find the excuse why it will not work. So it goes back to you guys. What do you guys want? What do you guys want? Forget about your family. And I know, yes, family is important. Please don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, they are not going to live your life for you. They are not going to be there together for you. You guys have to be there for you. So do you believe that you both of you are worthy of each other? That is what our mothers right then and then. So you guys have to decide. Don't worry about why they think it will not work. Like, forget about that. You guys focus on you. Do you want to make it work? If you guys want to make it work, every other person will fall into line. That is the truth. That's what I've seen from my parents' experience and other people's experience that I've seen too. They will fall into line. So you guys have to make that decision and that commitment first and foremost. Do you want it? It doesn't matter what they are saying or what they are thinking. Do you guys want it? That is the first thing. If you cannot answer that question, then I don't know what else to tell you. So I'm not going to tell you whether it will work or not. You have to decide for yourself, both of you together. Have a candid conversation. If, let's say, your parents, whatever restriction or like their preference is not to be considered, will you still be together? Will you still love each other? Will you still want to be in a relationship irrespective of whether your parents give you their approval or not? If your answer is yes, then make it work. If your answer is no, then go your separate way. So that's what I would say. But you guys have to decide for you. Don't let anybody, I cannot decide for you. You have to decide for yourself, and then you go from there.
Your response is powerful, and I do agree. I want to touch on a few things in that question. Recently, actually, I would say over the past week, I have kind of come into conversations about Catholic versus Protestant, and it amazes me. I don't know what your growing up like was, Tola, but I was talking to a friend recently where she said like every tribe had like the churches or the religions that were like a no-go. A lot of Christians really did not, want anything to do with Islam. But it's interesting to see how like certain cultures, for example, the Westerners there weren't that many Catholics in the western part of Nigeria because of the eastern part where there are a lot of Catholics. And I have seen in multiple ways how that has caused a divide. And honestly, a divide that is pretty thoughtless to a certain extent, and one that does not ask the real questions. And so to the person who is asking, right, I think the basics of the question is, can the both of you find a common healthy ground to build your relationship on? You have different beliefs, maybe to an extent. You also have similar beliefs, right? Can you, both of you, really find a common ground? Can you pray together? Can you plan together? Can you connect spiritually to each other, right, despite your different backgrounds? If your answer is honestly and truthfully yes, that means you're not spending every day arguing about the semantics of your different backgrounds. So if you can find a healthy common ground, check, right? Then the next place is who you are as a couple and how you present yourself to your families. I'm not one to actually believe that you can do these things without families. I feel like families are very important. But there is a certain position you can take even in presenting yourself to your family. I'll give you an example. Presenting somebody to your family as this is the person that I want to be with, as whatever you people decide would make my decision ebb and flow, is different from what my parents did, for example, during their time. My parents are Igbo and Yoruba, which was a whole drama back then, which was very different from what they did, where they were like, this is the person I want to be with. Take your time, think about it. But this agreement is not changing. And so it's like, take your time, pray, ponder, dance, discuss, shout. But when you're done, I have made up my mind about this particular choice, right? Like my mom actually talks about this time where like there were a lot of nerves and people flying, and my dad will just say, this is it. This is the person. They don't bother. This is not changing, right? And I feel like that approach is something that a lot of people are hesitant to come to that resolve, right? If you're still letting what people think or what people feel about your differences affect you, then you haven't come to your own resolve. Like, do you want to be with this person? And is this going to be a healthy relationship? Then how do you present yourself to your family? Do you present yourself as a couple that their decision or their concerns would affect? Or do you present yourself as, we've talked about this, we've had the difficult conversations, and we have come to a place where we are ready to do the work to stay together despite our differences. Take your time, but we are not going anywhere, right?
Exactly,
because that's a very different approach to take. Now,
yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
I feel like I was just going to say, like, I wanted to emphasize what you said, that you cannot do it without family. But the goal is that you are, like you said, I love how you said, like, you have to first come as not that either how you're thinking. No, when you show up together, you are on the same page. You can argue and fight in the private, but when you are, especially with people that they're like, we are not sure, like, you have to be, so you have to show up like that and say, this is it. Like, this is it for us. Take whatever time you need, like you said, but this is it for us.
Yeah. And the reason I pointed that out is in your comments, you said in Nigeria, it's looking like it won't work. That's a decision you make. Right? Because
Yeah.
you can move to Ontario, Canada. Both of you can definitely apply to schools. I've seen it happen. You know, two people want to be together, they apply to the same or different schools, they go to the embassy separately, time, chance, fate, luck, whatever it is you call, it works out for them. But there's also a chance that one person might leave and the other person might stay, right? And so you can't bank on the fact that if both of you go to Ontario, Canada together, then automatically this difference will resolve itself,
No, it
right?
wouldn't. And then
That
another thing, to just add to that is like think about it. When I had my daughter, like I was here in the US. Guess who helped me? Family. My mom came for the first 6 months or almost 6 months. My mother-in-law came for the next 6 months. So even if you move to Ontario, you still need family. Especially when children come and say, "Where are our grandparents?" All of those kind of things. So you guys still have to do your best. Like even if they don't give you the time of day, you keep that communication open, keep the space open. Don't ever cut the tie, irrespective of where you are, to say you always love you, whether or not you choose to accept us. If you guys choose to stay together and get married and all of that, still leave the communication open, leave that space for them to come, because they will change. People change. People are fickle when it comes to their decision about this. You guys, but you have to just be able to enter those conversations and be on the same front to say we still want to be, we understand where you're coming from, but we've talked about it, but we still want to be together and we would love for you to be part of our life however you want to. And if we need time, no problem, take the time.
I hear you. And the second piece, can you go to school together? Absolutely. But I left Nigeria when I was young and 16 and naive, and there was one boyfriend that I had that time. It's quite tricky. If you are not, I'm serious, if you're not an adult and if you're not having mature conversations of, we can do this together, but what happens if it works out for me and it doesn't work out for you, right? If you don't have that conversation and have it realistically and embrace the difficulty that could present to your relationship, then you haven't started. And so to answer your question, whether it's work or not, like Tola said, that's your decision. You need to come to your own resolve or position about your relationship, and she does too, right? Can you apply to schools together? Absolutely. But it will not make up for the fact that if you haven't dealt with the Protestant versus Catholic, the going to Canada will not solve that problem.
Okay, how do you think finances affect relationships? In your opinions, does this get more or less complicated with long distance? I think it is like, if you want it to be complicated, it will be complicated. If you don't want it to be complicated, it will not be complicated. So I'll give you an example. I was here in the US, like I was a student. I was supposed to only work 20 hours a week. I was doing a PhD. So my salary was less than $900 per month. That was my salary as a student. My husband was working in Nigeria. By the time, even though he was a medical doctor, by the time he calculates his own, it's less than like $200 then. At least the exchange rate then, it was less than $200. So there was no way he could support me and my daughter, even when our daughter came. So I already knew that this was not an equal whatever. So one of the things that I did was just to say, you know what, like, we just had that understanding that, you know what, we're for each other's good, right? It had things that you have to take care of, and then it was planning to do, like, when things change and all of that. So you guys can make it what complicated or simple. So that was the first instance with our finance. We realized that, like what they said, that fingers are not equal. It was not equal. So there was no way I can use that to judge him. No. So I didn't believe in this traditional rubbish that they said, oh, men has to provide for everything. No way. Like even that's one of the things my husband did not like about me. I will not accept any gift from him. I was like, when we first had our first date, I said that we have to share the bill. He was like, what? No. I'm like, no, I'm not taking free stuff without sharing. But to cut the long story short, the point is that, like, you can make it complicated or not, and then I'll tell you what things have changed now. So let's say when he now came to the US and now we're now together in the same place and we're still PhD students. So what we did was to look at our budget and say, okay, he was bringing like almost the same amount I was bringing as a PhD student. Sorry, David is here. He's here to say hello and stay with us for a bit. But anyways, he's like, I want my mama. It's okay. But anyways, so what we did was to say, okay, what is our budget each year? So after we check what our budget was, okay, how much do we want to bring in to pay for rent, to pay for utility? So it didn't matter because honestly, it was less than $50 difference between. I think I was even still earning more than him at that point. So what we did was, okay, you give me 600 of your own, me, I'll have this of my own. Then what we also did was we said each of us will have our own pocket money. So what we did was like, okay, yes, all of these will go to be anything after bill and your tithes. It is your own. I don't care how much it is that is like, it is your own. And so we had this amount that, okay, based on our income, like, so if my own income was higher, then it was 60% of mine because it was higher, then it was 40% of his. And anything that was left over, it is easy to do. So each person had their own money and things like that. So, and that's what we are using up till now. It's like, you know what, okay, what is our bill that we need to all account for? Food, like house, rent, utility, transportation, gas, transportation, and things like that. Babies, children's daycare, diaper, wipe, all of those things. So once we add that, so we divided it by 2, whatever the amount was, and so each of us provided that. Then anything after is yours. You can use it to do whatever you want and all of that. But we try to give at least each other like $100 or more to say that, okay, this is your own personal money to spend as you want, not family money or anything. And then we also did savings. So savings was part of the thing that was important for us to say, okay, a certain amount of our income every month will go towards saving. So when we did that calculation for budget, saving was already budgeted into it as well. So whatever the money was that was coming in, so you guys can make it complicated, you can make it uncomplicated. It is up to you. So, but I'll say it's like, just think of it as well. Don't try to use the Nigerian mentality or a man has to provide everything. If you're actually going to be in the in the abroad, it's not going to work, and it's not going to fly. It's not going to fly at all. So you need to really like figure it out and like come up with what works for you as a unit, and then use that to go forward.
I 100% agree. I think when you are dating somebody that is, first of all, not in the US, depending on where they are and what they do, their ability financially will be very different. I mean, like, it's thinking about, like, for example, if somebody orders $10 of Chinese food for you, for example, from Nigeria, that is already what, 5,000
naira,
or close to 6,000 naira of their money. And so if you are blessed with a boo who is earning 40,000 naira a month, that is already 1/8 of whatever it is that they're earning. And so, like, those are the tough conversations you do have to have. But one thing that I highly encourage is transparency. I think money can be a very touchy issue, but not talking about it is worse. So being very clear about, you know, babe, this is how much I can afford, or this is what this looks like for me. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. Babe, I have some additional money, or babe, I don't have money this month. Like, just making it a habit to be transparent. I feel like starts to put both of you at ease with, you know, who is bringing in what and how much is what. Because, like, honestly, it is hard. Things like dates, when you're switching currencies to do it, you know, trying to send like flowers. Oh my goodness, it's $55 to send somebody flowers and shipping, right?
And if the person does not appreciate it, they say flower care. Am I going? Is that
multiply $55 or $60 by 570 or whatever it is now, and you realize that that is somebody's very easily 50% of their monthly salary. And so, yes, open, transparent conversations is the secret to dealing with finances and the ebbs and flows of it when it comes to a healthy relationship.
And then one last thing from me regarding this is also know that things are not going to be that way forever. Not everybody is blessed to have like millions and have whatever they need. So think of it that you guys are building foundation. You're building together. Yes, be smart about it. Talk about what you want to invest in and things like that. And but at the same time, don't run away from it. Don't shy away from it. Have that conversation and say, you know what, this is what it looks like right now. We're not going to be here. And then have plans. Let's say it's not even enough to meet your need. Then talk about, okay, what are the things that we're going to die to? The thing is, if you're not sending me to come and do my PhD anyway, and Nigeria to US, that is just wrong. And so don't allow anybody to put rubbish into your head and say that it has to be this way. If you can help support as a woman, as a like support each other, be for each other's good, and you're thinking for the future. So don't worry about what everybody has done. You do what works for your relationship and for your current financial circumstances as well.
Absolutely. Wow, we've talked about a lot of things, and I really appreciate you sharing your experiences, your insight, and just giving us a real life perspective of this. Thank you so, so much.
My absolute pleasure. My pleasure. Like, thank you. It's always, I always love our life together because it's
Yeah.
always this way, and I'm glad that we can be there to share and support. And don't hesitate to reach out to us if you need help. Like, DM us, and we will be happy to like connect with you and all of that. So don't be afraid. Don't be a stranger. If you need help, if there's something specific to your situation that you cannot share live right here, feel free to like I know Winnie, she has a whole lot of resources. She has been investing in this for like over 3 years, so she will be your like guide, your coach. She has done it all. Like, she's the best person for you. So don't hesitate
Wow.
to reach out to them at Winnie Student World. They are there for you, they are for you, and they will definitely be able to take care of you. But and then don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to go into the long distance. Like, it will work. Like, think about it. Think of affirmation. It's what you affirm that works. Like, your words are seed, your words are power. So don't allow like I said, tune out every naysayer. If you guys are for each other, you know that together your destiny is tied, then affirm those things. Don't affirm rubbish. Don't affirm, like, because whatever you're saying, people say affirmation does not work. Affirmation, it's already an affirmation in itself. You're saying, so if you say this is not going to work, then exactly every little reason, you find every reason why it's not going to, because everything you're saying 24/7 is not working. It's not, of course, you're prophesying that to yourself, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So affirm the good, affirm the best, affirm what you want, not what you don't want. Affirm what you want for your relationship, for whatever it is. Don't affirm what you don't want, because you're going to get that. So if you say, if you think you can, then you can. If you think you can't, then you can't. So it's the same way with your relationship too. Affirm what you want, and then go do the action, take the step. Don't just affirm and then think of the Bible. It said faith without work is dead. So yes, affirm with your faith, but take the step, communicate, create a plan, and work together and talk together and create and work and have a future like board of where you're going, and work towards it while you're affirming it as well. So affirmation works if you believe it works. Affirmation does not work if you believe it doesn't work. So what you say is a seed. Like, your mouth, either life or death is in it. So whether it will kill your relationship or it will give it life, it's in your mouth as well. So that is a seed. So sow the right seed.
Wow, I appreciate that. You said something that is the best note to end this on, which is, do not be afraid to go into a long distance relationship. I feel like there are a lot of terrible stories of how it ends in pain or fear or tears or whatever. But that's one side to it. There is also the part where it works out. There's also the part where you're happy. And so if you're going to take that chance on a person or a relationship or on yourself, then hang your hat on it working out well. That's the only way your effort and your things will be, worth it. Give it 100%. And if for any reason it doesn't, it won't be because you didn't try, or it won't be because you didn't have faith. It will be clear that it just was not for you. And so on that note, I want to thank everybody that has joined us, stayed with us, had to leave early, wants to catch up later. Every single person, thank you for your questions. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you again, Dr. Tola, for just
my pleasure.
Here. Thank you.
Anytime.
To the Winie Student World Tribe, I will see you again at another live interview series. All right.
Bye, everyone. Bye, thank you. Bye.